Good day, students. Welcome to math.serve.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over how to factor cubes. Before we get started, let's do a real quick review on our cubes, okay? So let's review our cubes real quick. Review on cubes. Alright, now what is 0 raised to the third power? 0 raised to the third power is 0 times 0 times 0, which is 0. So what does this mean? If 0 to the third power is 0, or the cube of 0 is 0, that means that the cube root of 0 is equal to 0. Okay? The cube root is the inverse of the cube operation. How about 1? What's 1 to the third power, or 1 cubed? 1 cubed is 1. This implies that the cube root of 1 is 1. Okay? Now what is 2 cubed? What's 2 to the third power? 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So that tells me that 8 is a cube, hence the cube root of 8 is 2. Okay? Let's do 2 more. What is 3 cubed? 3 cubed is 3 times 3, which is 9 times 3, which is 27. So this follows that the cube root of 27 is what? It's 3. Okay? Let's do one more. What is 4 cubed? 4 to the third power. 4 cubed is 4 times 4, which is 16. And 16 times 4 is 64. So that tells me that 64 is a cube, so the cube root of 64 equals 4. Okay? So if you want to determine if a number is a cube, just simply take your integers and just raise them to the third power and see if you hit that number. Okay? So this is just a list that goes on forever. Now, this is the problem we are going to be considering. Example 1. What if we were asked to factor 3x to the third power plus 81 equal to 0? Factor this cubic binomial equation. Alright, so first things first, anytime you're factoring an expression, you want to ask yourself, is there a common factor that I can extract from the terms that are presented? So here we have 3x to the third and 81. Do we have a greatest common factor for these two terms? And the answer is yes. The biggest number that evenly divides these two terms is 3. So what we're going to do is factor out 3. Recall, when you're factoring out a common factor, it is as though you're dividing each term by that common factor. So it's as though we're dividing this term by 3 and that term by 3 when we are factoring out 3. Alright? So 3x to the third divided by 3 is simply x to the third. And then 81 divided by 3 is 27. So that equals 0. Now what we have here is a binomial, a cubic binomial. X to the third is clearly a cube because any variable raised to 3 or a power that's divisible by 3 is a cube. Okay? So let's write that down. Just a side note. Variables raised to a power that is divisible by 3, or is a multiple of 3 that is divisible by 3, are cubes. Okay? Just as variables raised to powers that are divisible by 2 are squares, variables raised to powers divisible by 3 are cubes. So based on this fact, we can automatically conclude that x to the third is clearly a cube. Now how about 27? Is 27 a cube? How do we answer that question? You ask yourself, is there any integer that if you multiply it by itself 3 times you get 27? So you go through your list and check this out. We already have it clearly stated here. 27 is a cube because 3 raised to the third power is 27. Okay? So we have a cube and a cube and a plus. So what we have here is a sum of cubes. Okay, so we have something of the form a cube plus b cube. Now let's go over what the sum of cubes formula is, and then we'll apply the formula to this factorization situation. So sum of cubes formula. So if you have a cubed plus b cubed, the factored state is a plus b. Now there's a mnemonic device that can help you remember the pattern of the signs when you're factoring sum or difference of cubes, and that is called SOAP. Okay? It tells you that the first sign is the same as the sign of the expanded cube. The second sign is opposite, and the third sign is always positive. Okay, so just remember that. So using the SOAP tool, we can automatically see that the first sign should be the same as the sign of the original, which is positive. The next sign comes after a squared, which should be the opposite of this sign, minus ab, plus the last sign is always positive, regardless of if the cubic binomial is a sum or a difference. Okay, the last sign is always positive, so b squared, like that. So this is the formula for sum. Let's consider the formula for difference. Okay, now can you determine what the signs are going to be following this SOAP formula here? The first one is going to be the same, a minus b. The second one is going to be the opposite of the sign here, which is plus ab, and the last sign is always positive. So there you have it. So what we're going to do now is make use of this first formula, the sum formula, to factor this quantity right here in the parentheses. Okay, so all we need are two ingredients. The two ingredients we need to expand this are a and b. Okay, so how do we figure those out? Well, we can clearly see that the first cube is a. Remember the alphabetical order, a comes first, right? So we have a to the third is equal to x to the third. So what is a going to be? You simply take the cube root of both sides of the equation, and we can clearly see that a is going to be x. Whenever you take the cube roots, you divide the power by 3. Okay, so 3 divided by 3 is 1. You don't have to put the power there. The same applies to the right side. 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So a is 1. What is b? Well, b to the third is a term to the right of the plus. Okay, so b to the third is 27. I need b so I can plug it into the formula for the sum of cubes. So to get b isolated, follow the same procedure that we applied up here. So we take the cube root of both sides of the equation, and that gives me b is equal to the cube root of 27. We already talked about it here, is 3, because 3 cubed is 27. Okay, so we have everything that we need. Now, one thing I like to advise you to do when factoring cubes is always use the formula to guide your factorization. Okay, that minimizes the odds of making mistakes. So we are doing a cube plus b cube. So I'm going to rewrite the formula again so I don't make mistakes. So it's going to be quantity a plus b. Remember SOAP, right? The first sign is the same as this sign right here. A squared. The O means this is opposite, so it's going to be minus AB. And then the last sign is always positive, plus B squared. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind is do not forget whatever term you factored out originally. So we have to bring down the 3. Okay? So bring down the 3 times AB is x plus 3. X plus 3 times a square is simply x squared minus AB. A is x, b is 3, plus b squared, which is 3 squared. Okay? So all I just did is I substituted what a and b are into the sum of cubes formula. Alright, so now we're just going to make this look pretty. So we're going to have 3 times x plus 3 times x squared minus x3, you just write it as 3x, plus 3 squared is 9, so that equal to 0. Now this is the factored form of the original problem, 3x to the third plus 81. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. We really appreciate it. If you found the contents of this tutorial helpful in your study of polynomial functions and how to factor them, do give us a thumbs up. Your positive feedback is very valuable and supportive to us. If you have any questions or comments about the material we just covered in this clip, just place your questions or comments in the comment section below, and we'll be more than glad to respond to your thoughts. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel for updates to other cool tutorials such as this. And do visit our website at mathgotserved.com for other great math tutorials. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.